When it comes to taking a business on the road, many people think the laptop lifestyle is what it's all about. But what happens if you've got an established career as a professional? You can't take that on the road. Or can you? Well, in today's episode of Big Lap Business, I sat down with Tania from a.van, who challenged the status quo and forged her own route to take her veterinary practice on the road. In this episode, you'll hear Tania's inspiring story of how no wasn't an option and how she overcame the many obstacles that stood in her way to become the vet in a van. Hey Big Lap community, and welcome to another episode of Big Lap Business with me, Rose. Welcome to this episode. Today we're here with Tania from Vet in a Van. Hey Tania, how are you?
Hi, good.
Now your Instagram handle there doesn't leave much to the imagination because I can tell exactly what you're doing right away from it. But can you give us a bit of an overview about who you are and what you're doing, where you are right now?
Yeah. I'm Tania. I am a veterinarian. I am currently traveling around Australia with my family. I've got 3 young boys and a husband, and we're living in a van and doing the do. We left from, we planned to leave from Melbourne April last year, and that didn't happen thanks to COVID. But we've been on the road since mid-November now, so it's just on 4.5 months. And working as a vet along the way, I've set up a travel bag of veterinary stuff. So anything that can be done in a consult room, I can do, whether it's at my caravan and campsite or whether it's at another traveller's caravan and campsite, or we've been going through a few remote communities as well that don't have vets. And so I've been happy to go around and do house visits and see people that are local that have needed a vet. So yeah, pretty flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's super cool actually, because when you think about sort of traveling, especially, traveling with pets and those kinds of things, vets are the one thing that you think, oh God, am I going to be able to find a vet? Am I going to be able to get my pet to the vets when it needs to go? Mm-hmm. So how have people responded, especially in caravan sites? Because I imagine like finding a vet is quite rare.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And it was sort of part of our research to travel that I discovered that there are so many people traveling with pets, most of them with dogs, but there are the odd cat, and I'm noticing more and more cats, as well as the odd lizard or bird or other weird or wonderful creature. So yeah, pets are part of the family, and if people are planning a family trip, they're taking their whole family with them. Which is completely justified and yeah, it makes it a lot more enjoyable for everybody. So just being able to provide a convenient service for them and to have something on site, I've had a lot of positivity, both from other travellers that have kind of woken up in the morning and their dog's scratching their ear and they're like, oh God, there's a vet next door, I can come and see you. And as well as locals in local communities that have sort of gone, oh, thank goodness there's a vet around, because I would have had to drive a 6-hour round trip and to try and see a vet today, and I'm not sure if my pet needs to get to a vet or not. So just being able to provide basic triage and just some basic advice on saying yes, your animal does need to see a vet, or yes, I can help you and I can do that and I can give you the medication for it and everything's okay now. And then follow up with a phone call in a few days' time just to check on them and make sure everything's still okay. Or otherwise to say, no, you actually need to get your dog to hospital right now. There's something a bit more serious going on that I can't do. It's beyond my scope. So I'm happy to help them find whichever local vet there is and send them across to a hospital where they can get the appropriate treatment. So.
That's wonderful, and I bet that people are following your Instagram to check out where you are from time to time, because I imagine that a lot of people would need your services when they're remote and all those kinds of things. But how do you actually advertise your services and put it out there that there's a vet on site?
Yeah, that becomes a bit more tricky. Trying to stay up with socials is a bit tricky as well. We're set up for off-grid camping. So even though we are in a caravan, we prefer the off-grid sites away from away from the masses. So yeah, a lot of the time we are off grid. There's no reception. We can't get access to social media. So my socials are a bit behind. I think I'm about a week or two behind on my socials just because we keep going off grid and then I can't catch up again. And yeah, it's trying to sort of keep up with letting people know on the socials where we are so that they can come and find us. I've also got a little sign that we put out the front when we are camped up. And so people that are walking past can see. And we've got decals on the van and the car. So it means that when we are sort of out and about or people see the van, then hopefully they can see it. We have been mistaken a few times for being in a van that a war veteran. And a few oldies come up and sort of wander over and go, "Where did you serve?" But yeah, it's pretty easy to correct and sort of say, "Oh no, not that kind of vet."
Yeah, fair. I mean, your logo has a dog in it, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. We designed the logo so it's one big cross, like a hospital cross, with animals all over it. So yeah, we hoped that would make it a bit more obvious, but yeah, so be it.
Oh, that's funny. So when you were sort of planning your big lab, was it always a plan to sort of take your services on the road? And was that a consideration when you were picking your caravan? Did you need a space and that kind of thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
Really. It wasn't part of the original plan. Our original plan was to just do the family travel gig. And it was only when we did that extra research and realized there were so many people traveling with pets. And I'm one that's very much for educating clients and teaching people and sharing my knowledge. And for me to be able to have knowledge and skills and to be able to provide a service that is obviously so needed in a lot of these remote places, it kind of just became logic that, you've got a lot of people providing services on the road for whatever profession they do, and why can't I do that? So unfortunately, it is a little bit more complicated than a lot of other professions, just because there's a lot of regulation of vets, and so we're under a lot of strict rules. And as far as Australia is concerned, every state has its own legislations, its own rules, its own laws, everything else. So there's been a lot of paperwork involved in setting it all up, as well as maintaining things. So it's not all kind of holidays and social media, unfortunately. There's a lot of paperwork, and so yeah, and it's pretty stressful as well. So it's a pretty stressful job to begin with, but yeah, try and do that in 7 different states, and yeah, it becomes a lot more stressful because they've all got their own bureaucracies, and you have to meet every single requirement for every single one. And it hasn't been too bad. My Victorian registration is recognised in Queensland, New South Wales, Tassie, and South Australia. So I only need separate registrations for WA and the Northern Territory. But yeah, WA needed all the paperwork, so I had to go through a lot of. So yeah, we're currently in Sandy Cape on the west coast of WA, and I only just got my WA registration through a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, there was a lot involved in getting that done, and I'm still doing paperwork to work out how to order drugs and everything else. So it's getting there, but yeah, once the paperwork's sorted, the rest kind of just flows. So and I can still offer advice even if I don't have on hand whatever is needed to do. So yeah, we get there. You make it work.
Absolutely. Now,
people are just appreciative to do what you can do. So yeah.
100%. It sounds like you're kind of quite busy and you're doing a lot. Has it detracted from actually enjoying yourself on your big lap? Are you able to still get out there and do the fun things?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's actually a lot easier than sort of working at home, because rather than your life being structured around work, it means I can structure my work around my life that I want to be living. So yeah, it's a brilliant way to be sort of living the family life and doing what we're doing, traveling and seeing things and exploring. And if we're out and about, then we're out and about. And a lot of people understand that because they're traveling too. So that's what they're doing. And if there's an emergency that needs to be seen right now, then I'm happy to sort of change plans to do that. But most of the things that I'm seeing aren't emergencies. So yeah, most of them are vaccinations or wormings or sore ear or itchy skin or that sort of thing. So it's something that the owners are just grateful that we're there, and that I can help them. So they're happy to wait an hour or happy to wait until the afternoon or whatever until we get back on site, or I can squeeze them in amongst other consults. So yeah, it's pretty good. And especially being a mum as well, having 3 young boys, it's being able to do the job that you really love, as well as enjoy the parenting and the time with your kids that you really love. You can kind of combine both those things together and win at both. It's I don't know. I haven't been able to find a proper balance between parenting and work in 9 years. My eldest is 9.
I don't think
and
that balance
there is no balance. you're either doing 100% of one or 100% of the other. There's no such thing as 50-50. So yeah, this is the closest that I've come to being able to balance family life with work. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Now, because a lot of people are, and this is kind of going off on a bit of a tangent now because it's not about your business per se, but we were discussing about the fact that, you know, a lot of people are traveling with pets and particularly dogs. Is there anything that you've seen, you know, anything that is like a repeated thing that keeps coming up that you can kind of give advice to anybody thinking about traveling with a pet?
I trail a lot of the travel with dogs forums and things on Facebook and whatnot, just so I can pick up on what the common questions are. And I do use that to structure. I have a blog on our website. So my topics for the blog basically become any of the ideas or the questions that I see repeatedly being brought up, or that other people are offering advice on that isn't veterinary advice. I do think that a lot of people with pets or even without pets are happy to offer advice, and whether that's got a good background to it or not is another thing. A lot of people are very knowledgeable about their pets, but without that medical basis to it. So it's always worth getting a veterinary sort of opinion on something, rather than just typing something into a Facebook group, because the advice you get is probably going to be pretty different, and you're going to get 500 responses and they're all going to be different. And who do you trust? It's the internet is the internet. We're surrounded by information now, and Dr. Google is helpful sometimes, but also terrifyingly scary in other ways. So I'm happy to give advice here and there. It's if someone sends me a message and sort of goes, "What do you think?" I'm happy to sort of give my opinion, but also backing that without examining the animal, it's hard to tell. But at least I can give them a little bit of an idea as to what's going on. But typing something into a Facebook group, it's never going to give you the answer that is completely appropriate to what you need. So
Absolutely. Well, that's actually good advice. Now, looking at your business, how it is on the road, before you set off, and I know you said it wasn't really part of the plan, but before you set off, could you see like how a traveling vet system, like how it would work? And has it surprised you how you've managed to kind of ease into it and make it your business?
No, I couldn't really foresee it. And I also asked other vets, but from what I could pick up, it hadn't been done before. Everybody else was kind of too put off by the different requirements in the different states. I got a lot of responses of, no, it's impossible. No, you can't do it. You'll run into trouble, or you'll do whatever, or someone will try to do something or whatever else. But I got a lot of, I tried to do that and it didn't work kind of thing. But I think it's like everything that if you want something to work, you'll make it work. It's fair enough because of the different legislations and things. I can only offer certain services in certain states. So there are some areas where I can't do particular things, but I'm open about that. And it's, as I said before, people are just appreciative to have advice on hand right next door. So and not having to go hunting around to find wherever the local vet is, whether it's in that town or in a different town or anywhere else. So yeah, it's been pretty good to do.
And I think that's such a good point, that if you want something to happen and if you want it to be your reality, you can make it so, right? You know, that there might be some hoops to jump through and it might not be the easiest route, but, you know, you're testament to the fact that it can be done. You can make it happen, right?
Absolutely. I think anybody in any profession or job or career or anything can, if you enjoy what you do, then just make it work. Travel just, it gives you so many different opportunities as well. So it gives you opportunity within your job to sort of alter and tweak your job to what you want your job to be. Obviously, vets work long hours. It's doing a 7 till 7 job is pretty usual for what a vet does. And being able to sort of tweak that into no, I'm going to travel 7 till 7 and I'll do a few consults along the way and mix it together, and I get to enjoy a bit of everything. So that's make it work.
Absolutely. Do you have a target of, okay, I want to do X amount of consults, or do you just go with the flow?
No, it's we're not set up for it to fund our travel. We've funded our travel already. So it's more, for me, it's more being able to share my skills and knowledge with people who need it at the time. And then it's not even really about the money. It's the money's a bonus, and hopefully it'll mean we can stretch out our travel a little bit longer than what we'd originally planned. And that would be amazing, because if we could keep doing this for forever, that would be the dream. But we'll see how we go. And it's more on the kind of the casual side of things, rather than I'm not pushing it, and I'm not trying to step on other vets' toes either. If we're in a town, we'll always look up and see where the nearest vets are, both so that we're not advertising locally, we're not trying to steal clients, and we'll just do travellers if we're in an area with a vet, or likewise if there's someone that has an emergency and I need to be able to refer them to a hospital, I know where the closest vet is. So it has a bit of a double win there,
Now, I think that's such a good point as well, because I was talking to a lady, I mean, completely different profession. She's a hairdresser, and she said the exact same thing about not wanting to step on toes. And I think that is so important, because, you know, as travelers, we already get a bit of a bad rap of, you know, sort of coming into people's towns and decimating and ruining them and all those kinds of things. So it's such a nice thing that you actually take the time to consider the local businesses as well, so you're not taking business from them. Have you ever come across anybody who has seen what you're doing and not been happy with it or anything like that? Or have you been pretty much welcomed where you've been?
No, it's been 100% positive. It's actually been quite amazing, and even having sort of travellers that are near us that know a local in town that sort of say, oh, I know so and so down on whatever street, and she needs a vet. Are you able to help out, kind of thing? And of course, I'm there to help. So it's been entirely positive. And I get a lot of positivity from the pets as well. I think they're in a completely different environment. Even a lot of dogs love vets because they give them treats. We're pretty lovable people, you know. We do the nasty stuff, but we're also pretty nice. But there's even the ones that sort of are a bit vet shy or get a bit angsty at vets, I've had positivity from, just because we're in a totally different environment. They can either be sort of out the front of our campsite or in their own campsite. The dog thinks they're just camping, they're having fun. Dogs love camping, and suddenly there's someone poking and prodding at them. But so they give me a bit of a kind of a, oh, hang on, this doesn't go with this situation kind of thing. But they're a lot more relaxed in general than what I've seen in clinics. So that it has that bonus as well. As well as being able to I've done a few home euthanasias as well, and which is a horrible job in itself, but being able to do that at home and not in a clinic, it's just so much nicer, being able to provide that service and to be at home and I did one, and the lady had lit candles all over her lounge room, and she had incense burning and had wrapped up the dog in her favourite scarf, and it was just lovely. So yeah, being able to do that, it adds to it.
Absolutely. Now, it's funny you mentioned clinics, because when I think of a veterinary clinic, I think of this. Sorry, I just turn the baby monitor off for a minute. When I think of vet clinics, I think of this, clinical, clean kind of space. Now, obviously, yours must be a lot more rustic than that, right?
Yeah, I've got a bit of sand and a bit of dirt, but
nothing's going to hurt them, right? Yeah. They'll be fine.
No, exactly. They're out in the sand and dirt anyway. No,
absolutely.
The entire thing is that mobile clinics can't do surgery specifically for that reason. We don't have a sterile environment. No mobile clinic in all of Australia is legally allowed to provide a surgical service. So that's off the table, and that's fine with me, because that's beyond my scope of what I'm comfortable dealing with in a caravan. And we don't have the space to be carrying anesthetic machines and anything else anyway. So just the basics. It's being able to do what you can do on the ground, in the field, and yeah, I can do what I can do I've got my bag full of stuff. It's a huge bag. It takes up half the lower bunk. Luckily, the youngest child is only 3, but
it's a sharer's bed.
I can carry my consult room around to anywhere I need to go. So I've got all the equipment in there, and any medications for basic bits and bobs that I can take with me and carry on my back. So yeah, it means that whatever needs to be done can get done.
So what's the future? What are your plans for your big lap? How long are you planning to travel for, and all that kind of thing?
Sure. We're planning 2 years. We'll see how that goes. That's all up to whether the budget does what we predict the budget is meant to do. Some weeks you spend more than what you expect, and some weeks you do better, and it kind of all just balances out. But if we can do 2 years, that would be the ideal. And then if the veterinary work can sort of help that along, and we can stretch that out, then that would be amazing. But yeah, it's not the sort of the crux of the deal. We're planning to do sort of 2 whole laps if we can. If we can do get around and get to see as much as we possibly can. So we're not in a rush. We're not on a timeline. We enjoy our free camps. If we find somewhere where we like, we stay there for a week and a half. If we find somewhere that's not quite so endearing, then it'll be a 1 or 2 night stop, and we keep going. So not having a sort of a proper timeline or time limit means that we're flexible to do that. So and it means that there's been some spots where I've ended up with a whole lot more work than I've expected veterinary wise. And so instead of staying for 3 nights, we've ended up staying for a week. And I've been doing full days of consults. So it's just being flexible, and it helps it makes it less stressful, because it means you're not sort of worried about, I need to squeeze this in, or I have to do that, or I need to move on, or we need to get there by a certain time, or any of that. So yeah, that's anything that reduces stress is a good thing.
100%. I think that's the mantra of a big lap, isn't it? Stress-free and flexible. While we wrap up, what is sort of a bit of a piece of advice that you would give to people who are potentially taking their typically static or corporate or whatever kind of service-based job or career? What advice would you give them to take that on the road?
I think if you're working in a profession that's sort of practical and hands-on, then it's a lot easier to do that. If you're doing an office job, then it's possibly a little bit more tricky, depending on what that job is. My husband's corporate. His job he can't do on the road, so he's just taken leave and decided he's the home husband for now, which is thoroughly hilarious to his liking. But that I'm now the breadwinner, which is hilarious. But if you're doing a corporate job and a desk job that could be done online, then you're 100% in. Internet's here and there though, so if you are doing a job that does need reception and needs to be online, then you may be a bit more restricted as to what places you can stay and where you can go. But likewise, you just make it work. There's some people that we've met along the way that do have online jobs, and if they're camped off grid, then they just have to do a trip up the hill every afternoon to sort of polish off whatever phone calls and emails and whatever that they need to do for the afternoon. So you make it work. If you want to do it, you'll do it.
I really love that attitude, because it's like, just do it. Like, it can be done, right? And
it can be done. Just don't be scared of it. No,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a good point to end on. If you're really sort of wanting to do the big lap, and you're, even if you haven't necessarily saved a budget like you did, there's still a way to make money at any opportunity, just using the skills that you've got. And I think, obviously with you, you're a vet, so you can say, this is my skill, I'm a vet. But there's so many people who are working in corporate jobs or whatever it may be that have a skill that they don't actually think is a skill. So I would implore people to sort of think about what kind of transferable skills they've got that they can kind of sell on the road.
Absolutely, that's exactly it. There's your skills and your services are not limited to your job title. I'm not doing generic veterinary work. It's I'm definitely doing traveling vet stuff. So it's everything is tweakable within your limits, your imagination, and what you're wanting to do.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Tania. I've had a really good time talking to you, and I'm definitely going to be following along with your social media. And you better start updating it, because
I know
we're heading out on our trip at the end of this year, and we're taking our dog as well. So it's been really good to talk to you and sort of hear sort of the advice that you've got for people traveling with pets and those kinds of things. I'm going to put links to your Instagram in the show notes for this episode, so anybody on the road currently with a pet can follow along and make sure that because even for a check-in, right, you do checkups and things like that.
Just a basic checkup, yeah, absolutely. Basic consults. There doesn't even have to be anything wrong. A wellness check is always worth doing once a year. And with the exotic pets, it's every 6 months. So I'm an exotics vet as much as I am a cat and dog vet. I've worked with exotics for 9 years. So I'm happy to see snakes and turtles and birds and rabbits and guinea pigs, and so whatever you're traveling with, if it's scaly or furry or feathery, I'm happy to see them. And wellness checks are important. We regularly go to the dentist every 6 months, and we regularly go for a health check at our GP every 12 months or so. So why shouldn't your pets? And your pets age a lot faster than what we do. So it's definitely worth getting them checked along the way, and especially if you're off in a spot where there are no other vets, or if you're wanting to get a checkup done before heading to a remote area, it's definitely worth doing. Keeping up to date with your vaccinations, making sure worming's up to date. Ticks are a big problem up north especially, and there's quite a few tick transmitted diseases that are an issue. I've done a few blog articles on the website about that. But other than that, if you're confused about where I am looking at the social media, then just send me a message and I'll let you know where I am. I'm more than happy to try and do that. I try to sort of put the odd story up, sort of saying this is where we are or where we're going. And then, so don't take our posts on the feed as being where we are right now.
Absolutely. Drop Tania a quick message. You might have to start charging for online consultations after this. All right, Tania, thank you so much. It's been really great to talk to you, and we'll speak to you again next time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Bye.
I just love this episode. I love how Tania challenged what being a vet looked like. She really proved that you can do anything you set your mind to on the road, even if it's not something that's commonly done. It really goes back to the concept that there's no right way to do a lap, just the right way for you. Now it's your turn. Tell me what profession you're in and whether you're planning to take it on the road. Comment below. And as always, subscribe.